This woman thinks I'm very funny, and now you're gonna be funny, so what am I gonna be? I'm gonna be a short, bald guy with glasses who suddenly doesn't seem so funny.
From cast drama to real-life scandals that inspired episodes, this sitcom didn't just reflect the absurd, it was built on it.
Oh, are you interested?
Yeah, sure, I'm interested.
Fact 1.
Take it outside. Come on, Larry, you know me. It bothers people, and it's against the law.
You can make all the laws you want, he's still gonna bother people.
Yes, Kramer was based on a real person. His name? Kenny Kramer, a quirky neighbor of co-creator Larry David in real life. When Seinfeld exploded, Kenny wasn't thrilled about having his name and likeness borrowed without compensation. He threatened to sue the show unless he was paid or acknowledged. Eventually, NBC paid him a consulting fee to avoid legal drama, but he was never officially part of the production. Kenny went on to create his own reality tour in New York called Kramer's Reality Tour, which mocked and mirrored the show. Larry David was reportedly annoyed, calling it tacky and self-promoting. Ironically, it was so absurd that they spoofed it in the show itself. Remember the J. Peterman reality bus tour? That was based on Kenny's actual bus tour. So the real Kramer sued, got paid, and got parodied by the very show he inspired. In classic Seinfeld fashion, everyone profited, and nobody admitted anything. It's one of the strangest cases of real-life feeding back into fiction. It also blurred the lines between performance and personality in ways that confused fans for years. Kenny leaned into the chaos and became a minor celebrity in his own right. The original Kramer is still touring to this day, and it nearly derailed the show before it hit its prime. Fact 2.
I make up one little white lie and they put my picture in the paper.
Elaine Benz wasn't part of the original pilot at all. NBC executives thought the show needed a female lead to avoid being labeled too male-centric. Several actresses auditioned, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus wasn't initially on the list. She'd previously worked with Larry David on Saturday Night Live, and he vouched for her. Even then, the network was hesitant, worried she didn't match the bombshell vibe they had in mind. But Louis-Dreyfus brought something else entirely: raw comedic timing, unpredictability, and total control of every scene. Once cast, she quickly became a fan favorite, even outshining the guys in many episodes. Behind the scenes, she often pushed back against how Elaine was written. She rejected early ideas where Elaine was overly sexualized or one-dimensional. Her fight for complexity helped shape one of TV's most iconic female characters. Without her influence, Elaine might have been just another 90s girlfriend character. Instead, she became unforgettable. Writers started tailoring jokes specifically to her style. She won multiple Emmys for the role and helped set a new standard for sitcom women. Even her signature dance became a cultural moment. Elaine wasn't just a supporting character, she was a revelation. Fact 3.
Salsa is now the #1 condiment in America.
Do you know why? Because people like to say salsa.
Here's a fact that most fans never hear, and it's uncomfortable. In 1993, 39-year-old Jerry Seinfeld began dating Shoshana Lonstein, a 17-year-old high school senior. They met in Central Park and began a relationship that lasted several years. At the time, tabloids covered it lightly, but the show never addressed it directly. Critics called it inappropriate, but Jerry remained unapologetic in interviews. He said she was mature for her age and claimed there was nothing illegal. Still, the relationship raised eyebrows in the industry and beyond. It became a quiet controversy that fans often forget or never knew about. Even decades later, it remains a strange shadow over Seinfeld's otherwise clean image. The cast never publicly commented on it, and the show continued its run without interruption. But behind the camera, people were talking. The story has resurfaced multiple times but is often omitted from retrospectives. It adds a complicated layer to the public image of the show's creator, and it serves as a reminder of how fame can protect and expose at the same time. Yes, it really happened, and it's one of the strangest real-life footnotes tied to the series. Fact 4.
All I want to see are garbage trucks, garbage cans, and garbage men.
One of the most famous episodes, where the gang waits endlessly for a table at a Chinese restaurant, almost didn't air. NBC hated it. Executives said, nothing happens and it's all in one location. It's too boring. Larry David fought back, saying, that's the whole point. It was the first true show about nothing experiment. Just 22 minutes of waiting. No subplot, no flashbacks, no costume changes. The network wanted to scrap it or add cutaway scenes, but the creators refused. They said if this episode didn't work, they'd walk away from the show. Eventually, NBC relented, and the episode aired. It became a fan favorite and proved the show's bizarre format could work. The episode is now used in screenwriting classes to demonstrate how dialogue can carry tension. Ironically, it was almost canned for being too different. It helped define the tone of the entire series. The boldness of that episode set the stage for the rest of the show. Sometimes doing nothing is a revolutionary act. Fact 5.
These pretzels are making me thirsty.
During the early seasons, Jason Alexander, who played George, was known for being passionate and occasionally fiery. In one episode, George had no lines at all while Elaine got a full subplot. Alexander stormed off set and told Larry David, if you write me out again, I quit. He felt the ensemble should be balanced and that George was being pushed aside. David initially brushed it off, but later admitted Alexander had a point. From that moment on, scripts gave each character a more equal role. The fight changed the dynamic of the show and shaped its ensemble energy. Ironically, the tension off-camera made the chemistry on-camera stronger. Alexander later said it was the only time he really lost it, but he didn't regret it. He loved George but felt protective of his part in the machine. If he had walked, the show would have collapsed. George was essential. Writers learned to avoid minimizing any one character's presence after that. It became a golden rule in the writer's room. Alexander's outburst actually improved the series' structure. Even Julia Louis-Dreyfus agreed that the balance made the show stronger. What could have been a cast shakeup became a course correction, and the show was better for it. The moment solidified George as a permanent pillar of the show, and it reminded the team that every character mattered every week. Fact 6.
Oh, I got your coffee.
Oh, here, let me,
Nah, it's on me.
She's sticking it to me that she makes more money than me.
You probably know that George was neurotic, insecure, and full of rage. But what you might not know is, he was Larry David. Almost every George storyline came from something that happened to David in real life. The parking space feud? Real. Lying about a job at Vandelay Industries? Real. Getting fired for sleeping under his desk? Also real. David said George was his unfiltered personality, the side he usually hid in public. Jason Alexander didn't even know this until mid-season 2. When he found out, he said he started mimicking Larry's speech patterns even more. Once you realize it, you can't unsee it. George is Larry David with hair. In fact, Larry briefly considered playing the role himself before casting Jason. It explains George's blend of self-loathing, brilliance, and stubbornness. Even the tone of George's voice was lifted from David's real speech. Many of the most absurd George plots were completely true. And yes, Larry actually did return shrimp at a party and yell, "The jerk store called." You're not just watching a character, you're watching the writer's inner monologue. And that's what made George so painfully real. David later used even more of his personal quirks in Curb Your Enthusiasm. George was just the beginning of Larry's self-portrait on television. Fact 7. On screen, they were inseparable. Friends through the good, the bad, and the absurd. But off screen? Not so much. The 4 main cast members rarely spent time together once the cameras stopped rolling. They were professional but not close. Julia Louis-Dreyfus later said they never hung out socially. Jerry and Jason rarely saw eye to eye, and Michael Richards was considered intensely private. Richards didn't participate in most press appearances or cast gatherings. Even the famous series finale wrap party felt tense and disconnected. It wasn't because they disliked each other, they just never clicked as friends. That chemistry you saw, it was all crafted through performance. In some ways, it mirrored the show's tone, cold, cynical, and emotionally distant. They weren't the gang from Friends. They were co-workers who made magic, and then went their separate ways. Interviews over the years have confirmed this again and again. The show's emotional detachment extended beyond the screen, and that might be exactly why it worked. Because real friendships aren't always needed to make brilliant television. Even during reunion appearances, their bond felt more like mutual respect than closeness. It was a sitcom about nothing, and that included sentimental friendships. Fact 8.
We'll be out in a year. And then we'll be back. Could be fun.
When the Seinfeld finale aired in 1998, 76 million people tuned in. It was one of the most watched TV events of all time. And yet, most people hated it. The characters go to jail for violating a Good Samaritan law after mocking a robbery victim. Many fans felt the episode was preachy, bitter, and completely off-tone. Even the actors weren't thrilled. Jason Alexander later said he found it disappointing and cold. Julia Louis-Dreyfus said she had hope for something more emotionally satisfying. Larry David, who returned to write the finale, defended it as true to the show's core. No hugging, no learning. But fans expected something more. Years later, even Jerry Seinfeld admitted they might have missed the mark. Despite the backlash, it remains one of the most discussed finales in TV history. Its ambition was clear, but so was its divisiveness. The writers chose irony over sentimentality and stuck to their philosophy until the very last scene. Sometimes legends don't get fairy tale endings, and Seinfeld wouldn't have had it any other way. Interestingly, cast members were never given a chance to rewrite or offer feedback before the finale was locked. The script was kept tightly controlled by David, adding to the cast's mixed feelings about the ending. Fact 9. By the time season 9 ended, Seinfeld was a juggernaut. NBC executives were desperate for just one more season. They reportedly offered Jerry Seinfeld $110 million to return for a 10th season. That's over $5 million per episode. Jerry turned it down. He said he wanted to go out on top, before fans stopped laughing. His decision shocked the industry. Most actors would have taken the deal without blinking. But Seinfeld said it wasn't about money, it was about legacy. Larry David supported the decision, calling it the ultimate move of creative control. The cast had mixed feelings but respected the call. They all agreed the timing was bold, if bittersweet. The show ended on his terms. And maybe that's what made it untouchable. NBC reportedly left the offer on the table for weeks. Still, $110 million? That's one expensive mic drop. In later interviews, Seinfeld said he has no regrets. Ending it early, he believed, protected the show's perfect record. Fact 10. Michael Richards played Kramer.
Pretend you're a doctor and check this guy for moles.
Moles, yes. Freckles' ugly cousin.
Wild, unpredictable, unforgettable. But once the show ended, he struggled deeply with typecasting. No matter what he did, audiences only saw Kramer. His 2000 sitcom, The Michael Richards Show, failed almost immediately. Behind the scenes, Richards became reclusive and paranoid. He avoided public appearances and took years off from acting. Then in 2006, during a stand-up set, he went on a racist tirade that shocked the world. The fallout was instant. His career was effectively over. The cast was horrified and Jerry publicly distanced himself from the incident. Richards later apologized, but the damage was done. He became a symbol of how fame can backfire. His talent was undeniable, but the pressure of life after Seinfeld proved too much. It's a tragic postscript to one of the show's most brilliant performers. He remains out of the public eye to this day. That one night overshadowed everything he had built, and a character built on laughter ended with silence. Richards later appeared in Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee to reflect on the scandal with Jerry. But despite efforts to redeem himself, his career has never recovered. Bonus fact.
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3! What? No soup for you.
No soup for you. One of the most quoted lines in sitcom history was never in the original script. Larry Thomas, who played the soup Nazi, improvised the exact rhythm and delivery in rehearsal. The writers liked it so much they adjusted the script to match his style. Even Jerry Seinfeld couldn't keep a straight face during early takes. Thomas based the performance on a real soup vendor in New York known for being intense. The character became a phenomenon almost overnight. Fans still visit the real soup stand and shout the line to this day. And it all came from a single unscripted moment. Sometimes the most unforgettable lines are total accidents. Thomas prepared a full backstory and personality for the character. He was only in one episode but left a mark as big as the main cast. The line became part of the cultural lexicon. You'll still hear it shouted in diners and office break rooms. Even people who've never seen the show know the reference. And in the world of Seinfeld, accidents are everything, because that's how legends are made, one mistake at a time.